Hello, HDF family, and welcome to today's mini HDF forum. We do not have a live audience today, but we are so glad to be here with you, and wherever and whenever you're watching this, we are so glad that you've chosen to be part of HDF this year, and we hope that you'll find this information helpful. My name is Stacy Peroulis, and I am serving once again as the Director of Competition for HDF 2025. As of this recording, we are just 3 months away from our event, and so we know that all of you are out there preparing your classes in the classroom, and that you are getting ready now to be on the administrative side of things, getting things ready for us to welcome you to Winston-Salem in January. So this presentation is meant to help you sort of sift through all of the many details that we know come at you at a time that's already very busy. So we're hoping to help you sift through those, clarify some things, and also just put faces with names so that you know who you can reach out to if you need any assistance. Again, my name is Stacy Peroulis. I'm here with Jordan Elrod, who has been serving as our judge coordinator on the FIT team for
3 years.
Look at that. Time flies.
It does.
So Jordan is joining us. We're filming from Charlotte, so very close to Winston-Salem, and we're so happy that you're here today. Just for a little formatting information, I'm going to start off by taking you on a little tour of the weekend manual. If you have been around the HDF world for a while, you're familiar with the fact that we have a weekend manual. It probably looks a little boring and a little daunting, and so that's understandable. There's a lot in there, and a lot that can be missed, or maybe even might not be the most clear to you. So that's why I'm here with you today to walk you through. We'll take it page by page, but in a quick and concise way, just to give you a high-level overview of what's there. I'll address a lot of details that I tend to get questions about year over year, so that everyone's on the same page. And again, if there ever is more that you need to know, or you want to kind of dig in, or maybe something wasn't answered for you, please don't hesitate to reach out. We are all here for you throughout the process. So we have called this presentation, taking a little piece of our logo for this year, which is Agape, the theme of our event this year. And so we're going to call this Learning to Love the HDF Weekend Manual, because it is your friend and there's a lot of good information in there. So let's get started. So after all of the intros and all of that, page 5 is really where we get to the meat of these details. So all the dates are here. I am listing some highlights for the purposes of this presentation. The one that's coming up the quickest is October 31st. Big deadline for those of you who have teams participating. That is your team registration. That is a hard deadline and needs to be completed via the website. There is a tab on the HDF website, which is HellenicDanceFestival.com. It says team registration at the top. Any competitive team will go through the form that's listed there, and then exhibition groups, there is a link on the same page to a Google form where you should register your team. That is very important because the exhibition teams do not pay fees, and so you do not want to go through the main team registration link. After that, also a big one, if you may have booked more hotel rooms than you need. By November 15th, we'd ask you to audit your list of hotel rooms and release anything you don't need. Otherwise, you will be charged 1 night's room stay to the card on file. November 21st, we do ask for your rosters to be due in the HDF portal. That way we can put categories together and get that information out to you as quickly as possible. More on that a little bit later. We'll talk about rosters and categories. December 15th is the big one. Anyone that's been around for a little while knows that that's a big deadline for your portal information. The HDF portal will be where you put everything related to your performances, and almost everything related to your performance information is due on the 15th of December. This is a new one, and Jordan's going to hit a lot on this later on in the presentation, but January 2nd will be when your research is due, if you're submitting research along with your dance information, and there are some new outlines for that. So Jordan will speak with you about that a little bit later on, but January 2nd will be the deadline, so you have a little extra time for that. And then if you're using recorded music, that'll be due on the 10th. Pages 6 and 7 are heavily dedicated to dancer and participant requirements. A lot of this will be familiar to you, but there are some things here that tend to get overlooked and are a little confusing. So let's just touch on them here. Roster dancers and directors all must purchase full event packages. That includes exhibition dancers. If you're under 5 years old, that does not apply, but everyone over 5 years old should have a full package, and that can be with or without meals. Your parish priest sign off. If you've been around long enough, you might remember that we used to have paper forms that the priest would actually put his signature on. That does not happen anymore. Everything goes through the portal. So your parish priest sign off is the responsibility of the director, and it is implicit in the posting of your roster on the HDF portal. In other words, we're not asking for their actual physical signature, but by you putting in that roster on the portal, you are attesting that your roster names are in good standing with your church and that your parish priest is fine with them participating in HDF. HDF, this is a big one, does not decide what constitutes good standing for your community. Each community has its own definition of what that means, and so we aren't the ones that will police that for you. You should have that kind of figured out on your end for your church before you put your roster in. There are a couple of situations that require written communication and sign off by our competition team, and that's the address there. That'll come directly to me, competition@HellenicDanceFestival.com. If you are a dancer, perhaps that doesn't have a dance program in your own church and you are joining another community, we'll just need to have that in writing via email. Very simple. It doesn't have to be anything very formal, just a note to me letting us know, and with our written sign off to come back to you. And then also, if you have this happens often in smaller communities where you might not have enough dancers, or there might be people that are kind of bridging an age gap there. If you have a dancer that's going to perform in more than one, or you'd like them to perform in more than one group from your parish, we would also need to know that and have that in writing prior to your roster being submitted. If you are a chaperone or director working with youth, there are a lot of you out there, you must have a current background check on file and an active youth worker certificate. That all goes through the Metropolis. So Monica, who's our Metropolis youth director, is the best contact for that. Most of that happens in your own parish, but Monica sort of audits that information to make sure everyone's in compliance, and her email address is there for you. Pages 8, 9, and 10. Let's dance. This is all about the competition. And again, if you've been around, most of this is similar or the same even as previous years. Teams are categorized by average age. So you could have a group that is all 16-year-olds. You could have a group that's 5-year-olds up to 35. Whatever that is and whatever that looks like, your average age will be how you are categorized. There is an opportunity for people, if you'd like to, and this happens often enough, where maybe you are on the cusp in between a couple of categories and there's specific reasons that you might want to be considered to go up or down a category. That's something that we can definitely talk about, and you can just reach out to me in whatever way is best for you, and we can talk that through. We do, again, ask for the roster information to be given by the 21st of November so that we can create the categories and communicate them to everyone by the end of November, so that you know what your time limits are, because the categories will dictate your time limits for each round. Recorded music is also part of these pages in the manual. We really do need you to submit recorded music exactly as it's outlined. I'm not going to go over the details here, but it's all very directly outlined in these pages. And if you have recorded music, you must have an attendant that's available to be at the AV table during your performance. So, and that AV table is not exactly next to the stage. So if you just make sure that you know that you're not going to have someone there as well as someone by the stage if that's what you prefer for your kids. AV and staging details are also on these pages. There's have never, I don't think, it's been years since anyone has had to ask for additional microphones. We do have a very generous amount of microphones and that kind of thing available to you. Papa Dimitri, who's also on the FIT team, created a form last year for you to outline exactly what you need, and he'll ask you about instrumentation if you're using live music. Filling out that form is a key to smooth transitions and much less stress for you guys once it comes down to the performance day, because so much of that figuring out will get done prior to the competition, and our AV team will be ready for you in whatever you need. So the lesson here is the more detail you can give in advance, the better, and better for everyone. There are 40 by 40 stages in both ballrooms this year, so you can count on those dimensions as you plan your performances. Page 11 covers a lot of things here. We have the directors meeting, which will be Thursday, January 16th, immediately following opening ceremonies in the same room. At least one representative from each group should be in attendance. I know many of you have been at this for a long time and you feel like it's probably a lot of repetitive information, but it is a really important time for us to be together. We're really good about keeping it brief, so just make sure that as you plan your practices for that evening, that someone is available to be at that meeting. If you're using live music, those schedules will be created by your musicians shortly after competition schedule is finalized sometime in December, but anything outside of that will be scheduled through a sign-up Genius that you will receive several weeks before the event, and you'll be able to get additional practice times in the other rooms. Very important, no practices are permitted on the competition stages or during liturgy or opening ceremony. Those are some hard and fast rules, and I think most of you are familiar with that. Standard props will be available at each stage at no charge if you choose to use them. You'll just indicate in the portal, you'll see in there some options to put how many chairs, how many tables you want, and just so you know what they look like. These are actual photos of what we will have at the stages this year. There are 8 chairs at each stage and 2 tables at each stage. The dimensions are here, so if you want to kind of zoom in and look at what those dimensions are, the tables are expandable so they can be smaller or larger. I know some of you might have tablecloths or things like that you're trying to plan for. So all of these are for your use, and we will have stagehands at both stages to help with the on and off and facilitating all that as necessary. We try to keep you as focused on your dancers as you would like to be, and so that we can take care of these extra things for you. Page 12 is about judging criteria and the details of that, and I'm just going to leave it to this guy. You know, just a little fun side note, I did not realize this when I yanked this picture, but this is from Jordan's wedding, and he did not have that mustache, but now look at him.
It's foreshadowing.
This is excellent foreshadowing. You might need a little hair color to make it black,
Slightly.
So
I've had some grays since then.
So we're gonna leave that to Jordan, and I'm not gonna go over that page for you now, but he will get to that in just a bit. Pages 13 and 14 go over all the awards that are part of our competition, and that picture down there is our wonderful judging panel from last year. But just so you understand, by category, each category out of the 8 categories that we have will have the first column's worth of awards. So dance awards, which are platinum, gold, silver, bronze, those are the placements, one of each of those for each category. There is 1 choral award for each category, 1 costume award, and 1 folk expression award. By division, so Division 1 and Division 2 each have the opportunity to award up to 2 of the new, which was new last year, the St. Tabitha Costume Achievement Award, which is more for, it's detailed in the manual, but it's more for antiques that you may incorporate or handmade costumes like in your community. So if you have people in your community that are talented and are doing a lot of sewing for you, or even maybe your dancers are learning to sew or embroider, this St. Tabitha's Costume Achievement Award is meant to recognize that and encourage that. For the overall event, there is 1 Director's Award and 1 Filotimo Award. The Director's Award is self-explanatory and is chosen by the FIT team, and the Filotimo Award is given to 1 community on the whole. Pages 15 through 17, I'm calling Great Expectations, because they really do outline the code of conduct for our weekend. I'd like to say it's all common sense, but I think since most of us are dealing with young people, I think as directors, something that's really important is for us to, yes, use our own common sense, but also communicate what that means to you and to your community, to your dancers before the event. Let them know what the expectations are. Let them know and hear it from you very specifically how you want them to act and represent themselves, your groups, your community, and their faith. And so those pages I would really encourage you to look at in detail and go over with the kids. Not even just the kids, you may be teaching adults that also need that messaging. And I think it's really important that we're all on the same page before that weekend starts. Again, it's nothing outlandish, but just a way of treating each other and to represent ourselves during the event. There's also contact information for the entire FIT team at the end of the manual, and we definitely encourage you to keep us in the loop with anything that you need. I'm always here for you. Again, I'm your guide through the competition events and everything leading up to it, and I really am so happy to answer whatever questions that you have, and also to connect you with people that may be the right person outside of me, or to connect you even with other directors who may be going through something similar or have costumes to share. So please don't hesitate, and I thank you for being here with us today. I'm going to turn it over to Jordan to talk about some judging.
Thank you, Stacey.
But I think we should probably just put this guy back on this.
That's good, so I can see it out of the corner of my eye.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I think he needs
Handsome.
to look over you.
So thank you to Stacey for everything that she does. I think anybody who's dealt with Stacey knows that she's always there to answer any question that you have with the best attitude, which I think is crucial. I'd like to think that I'm the same way. I don't think, hopefully nobody out there is thinking that they've tried to reach me and I haven't responded. But one of the things that I wanted to go over is, for the most part, the judging criteria this year will be the same. Not for the most part, it is the same two categories or criteria in terms of ethnic quality and presentation. So as it's listed in the manual, you'll see it will follow the same criteria this year, which is, and I'll read them just to be sure that I don't miss anything. Ethnic quality includes style, steps, authenticity, reasonable representation of the specified village's dance, correct dance to music, and a singing style, appropriate rendition of specified village's song. That basically, the Cliff's Notes versions would be ethnic quality is the dance correct? Are you doing it correctly for what you're trying to represent? And then second is presentation. And presentation goes into expression, Kefi stage presence, the synergy, the connection between music, dance, and dancers, which is extremely important. Precision, dancing on the beat and the musical phrase. Unity, feeling of ensemble is disciplined dancing together. Quality of improvisation, recovery from mistakes. Remember, I say it all the time, mistakes don't cost points. Recovery is what matters. Projection to the audience, feeling, look of enjoyment. Appropriate use of props if used to enhance the performance, and the quality of the singing that you're doing. So presentation, again, in Cliff's Notes would just be, how does it look as a whole? How does it make us as judges feel, or even the audience? So those are the main two criteria. The scoring system will be the same as we had last year, when you can go reference the old forum that we did that talks about the rank system of scoring that we use. But one thing that I wanted to cover today, which is a very common question, is about research submission. And there's always the assumption, not by all, but that the research that is submitted is not actually looked over or read by the judges. I can tell you with the utmost faith that that is false. We do go over everything. That being said, not all research submissions are created equal. So what we wanted to kind of discuss initially, because this is a recurring issue that comes up, is what is included in the research. So when we talk about research that we're submitting for a dance presentation, the research that should be submitted to us is stuff that is pertinent to the performance that's going on. So say, for instance, you're doing a specific island. You can pick one out of a hat. When you submit your research, it doesn't need to be a dissertation paper on the population of the island or all the different occupations that the islands face. If it's pertinent to the dancing specifically, absolutely. But if you give us a 25-page thesis paper, obviously I will flip through it. I know that I'll sit there and I'll watch other judges flip through it, because we meet at least a day before HDF, and you should submit them weeks before so we have time to go over everything. We will go through it, but it's a lot of information for a 10-minute dance presentation. So at one of the suggestions of a director, correct? A director suggested, well, what if we do 5-minute presentations, the directors, for the judges to watch? Now, logistically, I don't think this could happen because it's already a packed weekend of us watching 10 to 15 minute dance performances, and there's no time for us to even eat sometimes. So we have to make the assumption that if we open it up for a 5-minute presentation, we have to assume that eventually every single group will be giving this 5-minute presentation, which there's just not enough time in the weekend. However, I personally loved the idea of a 5-minute presentation because I feel like when you have a limited amount of time, you're going to get to the meat and potatoes of what it is that you want to share with us. So then it got me thinking and the board thinking that maybe a 5-minute presentation would be the way to go. So what we are going to try to implement this year, and it's not a hard stop. I'm of the older generation, I guess you could say now that I'm not super tech savvy. So we don't expect all of these groups now that we're already maybe into our dance season to be able to come up and do a 5-minute presentation. So if you still have your packet written up as is, submit it. We will go through it as we always have. But what we'd like to steer to for the following year is if everybody could put together some 5-minute presentation. It could be you in front of a camera, it can be a PowerPoint presentation, a Google slide presentation, any presentation that you want to give, but you have a 5-minute hard stop where if there's a clip of a dance that you want to show us, include it. If there's something that you want to say to us, as if you were giving a presentation to us live, this is what I'm dancing and this is what's important. And then what we're going to have you do is we'll have you upload it onto YouTube under the unlisted section, which means it will be open to anyone that has that YouTube link. We can provide more explanation on that on the HTF page so you can see exactly what we mean. But it's not going to be a public YouTube that anybody could look, so don't think that, I know some people have stage fright and the internet is even scarier, that your YouTube video of your presentation is going to be out there for the world to see. If it's unlisted, whoever is shared the link will be able to see it. So you'll share the link on the portal and then all the judges. So that way I know it would be much easier because we do have that time the day before HDF where we're sitting in that judges room going over everybody's information. If I have a 5-minute video from your group or any group, we can sit there and we will play each 5-minute video. And that way I can guarantee you with the utmost confidence that every judge in that room saw every bit of your research that you submitted. And I feel like it's a good opportunity for everybody to kind of like to say what it is, because a lot can be lost in translation. Meaning a lot of groups will provide endless amounts of YouTube links. I know that's where we get a lot of our material from, but what out of that 30-minute YouTube video are you specifically showing me? So now if you only have 5 minutes, you're going to pull out the 30 seconds that you want me to see, and you can even explain to me what it is exactly that you want us to see. That way you know. So I feel like this is a really good direction that we'll be moving in. And I think it's a good opportunity to be sure that we're all on the same page. So when you present that, or when you submit that to us, I can guarantee that we will be watching it. And I lost my train of thought now. Don't worry, this is on it. It's still live.
Are we still rolling?
I was saying before, we will continue to roll. I was just commenting before that I'm more of a Q&A guy, but there's no one here to Q, so I'm just going to A everything. So yeah, that's where we're going with this. Again, you can also still submit all of the same research and all of the same links and everything that you had in the portal, not part of your presentation. So if there's something in your 5-minute presentation that we might have further questions on, or we want to see the entire YouTube link that you submitted, if you have something that's really piques our interest or we have more questions about, we can go reference it. That being said, don't assume that you can put together a 5-minute presentation that's then just going to redirect us to 45 minutes of YouTube videos and you expect us to watch all 45 minutes. Expect us to watch the 5 minutes, and that's what we're going to be watching. And again, I think that's a good direction for us to move in so that we can guarantee that we see everything. More or less, that's what I wanted to go over. Again, it's not a hard stop. It's not expected of every group to do that this year, but in the following years we will do it. And now I just remembered what it was that I wanted to say. One thing that a group did this past year too that we liked is they kind of handed out the little QR codes to the audience and to the judges. So if we have everybody's research submitted in a 5-minute video presentation, if that group's director would like, we can provide a QR code that would then go on the projection screen when the group goes up there, so that everyone in the audience can scan the QR code and look at what and see the research and answer a lot of questions that the audience may have of what it is that they are watching. Because in reality, the audience is diverse at HDF, meaning you'll have a lot of very good dancers in the audience. You have a lot of musicians and you have other directors that may have questions also about what they're watching. In addition to that, you have a lot of yayadas and papudas that are out there that have no idea what they're looking at. They're just happy to see their kids or parents. And it's a nice little explanation of them. Where is this village? What are they doing? And then everybody can have access to that information. And it's kind of like in a nice little snippet, because now we all have ADD. And we need nice, tight little things. Even these forums are just being cut down. We can't even ask questions anymore, which I thrive on. I'm a dinosaur now.
We're going to get you a live audience next time.
That's what I need.
Yeah.
But yeah, so again, and these are kind of the things that we're noticing. So I wanted to make it a point to say that any suggestion is a good suggestion. Just because you give a suggestion, it might not be used, or as you can see in this case, is a suggestion that we're not necessarily going in the direction that it was given, but it was a great idea that we hadn't had, and now it kind of snowballs into something better. So I think one of the things that I'd like to pride myself on, and I think Stacy does too, is as a committee at HTF, we're always thinking and trying to improve. We listen to your complaints. I know that it's difficult. The event is growing, it's expanding, and we're trying to stay ahead of it, and we want to be sure that it's the best experience for everybody involved. And that's why I know that, like, Stacy's very approachable and she responds. I might not respond as quickly as Stacy does, but I try to respond to everybody, and that's it. So if you have any ideas or any suggestions, we're always open to hear them. They're not all created equal. I have plenty of stupid ideas, just ask my wife, but we like to hear them all, and you never know what, you could change the direction of HTF altogether, because this is like a big group. We're all working together for the same goal. So that was what I wanted to go over. Again, if you have any questions past this, I've said multiple times how much I love questions. Just reach out to me and I'll try to get back to you. So
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jordan. Jordan spends a lot of time, probably more than he would like to, thinking about these things.
Yeah.
But like he said, I mean, it's so true. I mean, even last year's director's social was something that was a suggestion from several directors, and it's something we implemented last year. And so completely I'm going to echo what Jordan said, and don't hesitate, because we love to hear it, and it really is, this is our event, not our event, so we really want to keep it that way and keep that feeling. But that wraps it up for us. We are trying to keep this brief and hopefully impactful. So thank you so much for being with us. We cannot wait to see you in just a few months, and I know there's a lot of excitement in between. So look forward to hearing from you very soon. Take care.